Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. The man you desire is already tied to someone else, yet every time he sees you, something inside him stirs. A spark, a pull, a feeling he can't ignore. What if I told you that it's not about chasing him, convincing him, or competing with anyone else, but about becoming so magnetic, so alive, so undeniably you, that he can't help but choose you? In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly how to create that irresistible pull, even when he seems unavailable, and why the choices he makes in your presence could change everything. If you want, I can also create 3 alternative 30-second hooks that are even punchier and emotionally charged for maximum engagement. Do you want me to do that? Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment that the person you desire is emotionally tied, committed, or even in a relationship that keeps them bound in one way or another. The natural instinct is to think, well, he's not available, there's nothing I can do. But what if I told you that there's a way to become irresistible, magnetic, and so unmistakably aligned with who you are that he can't help but notice the energy you carry, and ultimately choose you, even if his circumstances suggest otherwise? This isn't about manipulation or playing games. This is about understanding human desire, connection, and the kind of presence that shifts hearts without forcing them. First, you need to understand something crucial. Attraction is rarely logical. It doesn't operate on timelines or convenience. A man might be bound to someone else, but emotional loyalty isn't always absolute. What keeps a man committed isn't just familiarity, it's the emotional spark, the feeling that he is fully seen, understood, and desired in a way he cannot replicate elsewhere. And this is where you come in. You don't need to compete with someone else's past. You need to become someone so magnetic that his current attachments begin to feel insufficient. The key is presence. When a man is in a relationship or tied to someone, he is used to patterns, routines, and expectations. He's comfortable, but comfort does not ignite passion. If you want him to notice you in a way that makes him reconsider everything, you must be completely and utterly present in your interactions. This means when you are with him, your energy, your attention, your confidence, and your laughter are so alive that he feels it in his bones. People can ignore logic, but they cannot ignore energy. And if he senses that your energy is aligned with joy, confidence, and self-respect, he will naturally be drawn to it. Next, you must embody value, true, unshakable value. This isn't about material wealth, looks, or the superficial things society tells you matter. It's about the kind of presence that communicates, I am complete, I am interesting, I am worthy of someone's choice, not just someone's attention. A man who is bound to someone else is often seeking something he can't articulate, an excitement, a spark, a connection that challenges him in a way that feels alive. You become that connection by being fully yourself, by living your life with purpose, and by refusing to settle for less than you deserve. When he sees that you do not compromise your essence for attention, he begins to perceive your worth in a way that his current circumstances cannot match. But here's where most people go wrong. They overstep boundaries. Attraction is about magnetic pull, not pressure. If you chase, if you demand, if you guilt, you create resistance. But if you maintain your dignity, your calm, and your own life outside of him, you create curiosity. Curiosity turns into intrigue, and intrigue turns into emotional investment. A man who feels bound but still drawn to you will begin to question, why can't I stop thinking about her? Why does she make me feel alive in ways I haven't felt in years? That questioning is where the transformation begins. There is another essential component, the art of subtle influence. This doesn't mean texting strategically or playing emotional chess. It means small, deliberate acts that showcase your presence in his life without invading it. It's showing up with confidence, authenticity, and joy. It's sharing experiences, laughing genuinely, and letting him see a version of life that feels effortless, vibrant, and real. When he sees that life with you is not about obligation or pressure, but about vitality and growth, he begins to compare it unconsciously to his current reality. You also need to master the inner game. This is often overlooked. A man's choice is as much about how you carry yourself as it is about the connection you offer. If you feel desperate, needy, or consumed by worry, it will push him away. But if you are confident, anchored, and radiate self-assurance, it creates a gravitational pull that is impossible to ignore. Confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It means a steady belief that you are worth choosing, that your life is full and meaningful regardless of anyone else's choices. And paradoxically, it is often this self-assured energy that makes a man reconsider what he thought was permanent. Understanding timing is another crucial factor. You cannot control his decisions or accelerate his emotions, but you can create moments that make him reflect. Small gestures, well-placed conversations, or shared experiences can awaken feelings that were dormant or suppressed. You want to ignite the sense of what if in his mind without forcing it. If he begins to notice what he's missing, if he begins to feel the contrast between comfort and excitement, that's when choice naturally shifts toward you. Equally important is emotional intelligence. Pay attention to what he values, what he responds to, and what makes him feel alive. You are not trying to mold yourself to someone else, but understanding emotional dynamics allows you to meet him at the level of real connection. When he feels truly understood, seen, and appreciated, even in small ways, it creates a subtle tension with his current circumstances. That tension, if handled with grace, can be transformative. Now, here's the paradox. The more you chase, the less likely he is to choose you. The more you hold back, live your life fully, and show him what a high-value connection feels like, the more he will feel compelled to make a choice. Attraction is not about manipulation, it's about alignment. A man who is ready to choose you will do so because he senses that connection, that spark, that undeniable sense of compatibility. And a man who isn't ready yet will begin to question why he feels so drawn to you, even when logic says he should be committed elsewhere. Lastly, patience and self-respect are non-negotiable. You cannot force someone to leave their commitments or make decisions faster than they are willing to. But you can honor your own boundaries, maintain your own worth, and allow the natural course of attraction and desire to unfold. When a man sees that you are not waiting, that you are not dependent, and that your life is full regardless of him, he feels the urgency of your absence and the value of your presence. It's in this space, the space of dignity, presence, and magnetic energy, that he begins to make choices, not because you demand them, but because he is irresistibly drawn to you. You are not in competition with anyone else. You are in alignment with yourself. Your joy, your confidence, and your energy become the standard against which all other experiences are measured. And in that measurement, he will find himself asking the question, why haven't I chosen her yet? Or how did she become the one I cannot stop hinking about? And that is when the invisible bonds begin to shift. When choices that once seemed impossible suddenly feel inevitable. The truth is, people are often bound by habit, routine, or obligation, but desire is not bound. When a man is confronted with a connection that excites him on every level, emotionally, intellectually, energetically, he will make decisions that align with the truth of what he feels, and that is where you stand as the person who embodies what he cannot ignore, who holds her own life fully, and who radiates value so powerfully that choice is no longer a matter of logic, but of irresistible attraction. You have to step into this with clarity. Your role is not to chase, manipulate, or force. Your role is to live fully, to radiate your essence, and to create the emotional resonance that pulls him toward you naturally. When a man sees that a woman is unshakable, joyful, magnetic, and undeniably present, even the strongest bindings of circumstance can begin to unravel. Your power lies in being fully yourself, and your reward comes when he cannot help but recognize that the person he truly wants is standing right in front of him. The journey requires patience, confidence, and an unwavering commitment to your own worth. But when you master presence, value, emotional intelligence, and the subtle art of influence without pressure, you create a scenario where he is not just noticing you, he is choosing you, because in the depths of his heart, he knows he cannot resist the pull of someone who embodies what he truly desires. And let's take this even deeper, because understanding attraction and choice on this level is not just about moments. It's about patterns, habits, and the way you exist in the world consistently. Once you have cultivated presence and value, you start to create a gravitational field around yourself. Every interaction becomes a cha. NCE to reinforce that field. Every shared laugh, every meaningful conversation, every smile that radiates genuine warmth builds the invisible architecture that draws him in. This is why consistency matters more than effort. You cannot turn it on for a week and expect miracles. Real attraction, the kind that moves mountains and challenges circumstances, is built on a steady, authentic expression of self over time. You need to understand the difference between attention and interest. Attention is fleeting. Interest is deep. A man can notice you, even admire you, while still remaining loyal to the bindings he knows. But true desire is rooted in emotional resonance. It's the feeling that something is missing in his life, a sense that the life he thought he had isn't quite enough. And that sense is only awakened when you show him, through your presence and your energy, that there is a version of connection that is richer, fuller, and more alive than anything he has experienced before. This is where your subtlety comes into play. It's not about overwhelming him, it's about creating contrast. The contrast between his current situation and the energy, vitality, and authenticity you carry will naturally make him pause, reflect, and reconsider what he truly wants. Now, contrast is powerful, but it must be coupled with emotional boundaries. You cannot sacrifice your self-respect in the pursuit of being chosen. If you overstep, compromise, or chase, the magnetism vanishes. You might temporarily capture attention, but lasting desire requires that you remain anchored in your own worth. Boundaries communicate value. They say, I am not disposable. I am not available to anyone who cannot meet me where I am. When a man senses this, his subconscious mind interprets it as strength, maturity, and high emotional intelligence, all of which are incredibly attractive qualities, especially when he feels constrained by obligations to someone else. It's also important to recognize the power of unpredictability. Routine, comfort, and predictability in his current attachment create stagnation. Introducing unpredictability, not chaos but subtle spontaneity, into your interactions can ignite the emotional curiosity that pulls him closer. A spontaneous laugh, a thought-provoking question, an unexpected but meaningful gesture. These are the moments that awaken desire. They remind him that life with you is vibrant, alive, and worth considering over what is comfortable but uninspiring. People are drawn to that sense of aliveness because it challenges their assumptions and awakens long-dormant emotions. Let's talk about emotional mirrors, because this is a concept that changes everything. Men are constantly seeking reflection of their best selves, consciously or unconsciously. When you engage with him in a way that mirrors his potential, his dreams, his intellect, and even his emotional depth, he begins to feel recognized at a level that no other connection provides. It's not about flattering or telling him what he wants to hear. It's about recognizing and reflecting the qualities within him that are usually dormant or unnoticed. When he feels seen in this profound way, even if he is bound elsewhere, it creates an undeniable pull, because humans are wired to pursue connections that validate and amplify their true selves. Another critical element is patience. You cannot rush the process. Attraction and desire are not linear. They do not follow a timetable. A man may resist, hesitate, or even deny his feelings at first. This is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of the complexities of human emotions. By maintaining patience, staying grounded, and continuing to radiate confidence and vitality, you allow him the mental and emotional space to notice what HE is missing. You do not have to push or plead. Your presence alone, consistent and magnetic, becomes the catalyst for change. Humor and lightness also play an underappreciated role. Emotional bonds are not forged solely in serious moments. They are strengthened in joy. Laughter creates a sense of intimacy and shared experience that goes beyond logic or obligation. When you can bring lightness into your interactions, when you can make him feel alive, happy, and energized in your presence, you are creating a memory bank of positive emotions that he will inevitably compare to the tension, routine, or stagnancy he experiences elsewhere. These emotional memories become the subtle thread that tugs at his attention, even when he's consciously committed to someone else. You also need to master the art of emotional detachment, not in the sense of indifference, but in the sense of freedom. When a man senses that you are emotionally available without being dependent, he experiences a magnetic tension. You care, but you are not consumed. You are interested, but you are not desperate. This dynamic naturally evokes choice because he begins to feel the stakes of what he could lose. Emotional freedom communicates self-respect, and it subtly signals to him that life with you is not a fallback or an obligation. It's a conscious, desirable choice. Let's dive into the subtle but transformative power of scarcity. Scarcity is not about playing games or withholding affection arbitrarily. It's about living a full life that does not revolve around his availability. When a man senses that your time, attention, and energy are precious, he begins to value your presence in ways he cannot when it feels endlessly accessible. This is not a strategy to manipulate. It is simply a reflection of your own priorities, your own fullness, and your own autonomy. Men are wired to value what is not guaranteed, and by existing fully, you naturally create that perception without force or artifice. Equally vital is the ability to inspire him without overtly trying. Inspiration is magnetic. Men are drawn to women who elevate them emotionally, intellectually, and energetically. This does not mean taking responsibility for his happiness. It means living in such a way that your energy and presence remind him of the best version of himself. When he sees the life you are leading, the joy you are cultivating, and the confidence you carry, he is confronted with a question he may not have realized was lurking in his mind. Could I have that with her? That question plants the seed of choice. Emotional authenticity is another cornerstone. You cannot be magnetic by pretending to be someone you are not. The subtle cues of sincerity, vulnerability, and depth communicate that you are not just another passing influence. You are a profound, real, and impactful presence. This is why authenticity is magnetic. It allows a man to drop the facades he wears in his current attachments and meet you on a level that feels honest, exciting, and alive. When he experiences that, even if he is tied elsewhere, the contrast is stark, compelling, and unforgettable. We also cannot ignore the power of anticipation. Anticipation heightens desire. When interactions are paced in a way that leaves room for curiosity and longing, small pauses in communication, meaningful shared moments, and gentle absence, you create an emotional rhythm that pulls him toward you naturally. Desire thrives on anticipation, and when a man is bound to someone else, that rhythm subtly shifts the focus back to you. The mind begins to play with possibilities, the heart begins to stir with questions, and the connection you have nurtured becomes a source of irresistible tension. Physicality, even in subtle ways, reinforces attraction. A gentle touch, a confident posture, and open body language communicate more than words ever could. This is not about seduction in the obvious sense. It's about communicating comfort, confidence, and presence through non-verbal cues. When combined with emotional intelligence, self-respect, and authenticity, these subtle signals can create an undeniable draw, reminding him that connection with you feels natural, effortless, and deeply desirable. And then there is the power of your narrative. Every woman carries a story in her life, and when shared authentically, it resonates. Men are drawn to women who have overcome challenges, embraced growth, and cultivated a sense of purpose. Your life story, your passions, your ambitions, they are all part of the magnetic field you create. When a man sees that you have built a meaningful, rich life without needing validation from anyone else, he senses that you are a rare force. That realization often sparks the internal shift that leads to choice, even if circumstances seem to oppose it. Finally, you must understand that attraction is ultimately about emotional alignment. You cannot control the world around him, nor can you dictate his choices. But by embodying presence, value, authenticity, joy, emotional intelligence, and subtle influence, you create the conditions under which he is naturally drawn toward you. When a man sees that life with you is not only possible but exhilarating, enriching, and real, he cannot ignore it. And when he begins to feel that pull, the decision to choose you is not about disloyalty. It is about following the truth of his emotions and desires, which is what every man ultimately respects and honors. By living fully, maintaining self-respect, radiating confidence, and creating emotional resonance, you are not just becoming noticeable, you are becoming unforgettable. You are not chasing, you are being. And in that being, you hold the power to shift hearts, challenge circumstances, and awaken desire in ways that feel effortless because they are aligned with the truth of who you are. Every laugh, every conversation, every moment of authentic presence builds toward the inevitable realization that the person he truly wants, the person he cannot stop thinking about, is standing right there, fully alive, fully magnetic, and fully herself. And now let's go even further, because the journey of being chosen is about mastering not only external presence, but internal mastery. Attraction is a reflection of the energy you cultivate inside yourself, the M. Or you invest in your own growth, your own passions, and your own sense of self-worth, the more magnetic you become. A man who is tied elsewhere will begin to sense, often without realizing it, that you represent something rare: completeness, vitality, and self-possession. These are qualities that cannot be fabricated, cannot be forced, and cannot be ignored. When he senses them, the natural effect is curiosity, longing, and the slow, inevitable pull toward the possibility of choosing you. You must understand the power of contrast, and contrast operates on multiple levels. It's not just about showing him what he's missing externally, it's about evoking emotions he may have forgotten he could feel. Comfort creates safety, yes, but safety without excitement can also create stagnation. You, however, become the spark. You remind him of passion, of joy, of laughter, of meaningful conversation, of emotional depth. You do this not by trying to replace what he has, but by being unapologetically yourself in a way that highlights the difference between routine obligation and the vibrancy of life that exists with you. Men are wired to respond to contrast. It triggers a subconscious evaluation of what truly resonates with them. Equally essential is the cultivation of mystery. Mystery is not about withholding who you are, it's about revealing yourself in layers. Don't lay out everything at once, allow him to discover you gradually. Let him feel that there is more to learn, more to experience, more to understand. This subtle unfolding creates a sense of investment and intrigue. Humans are naturally drawn to stories, to discovery, and to the unknown. By allowing him to earn glimpses into your life, your thoughts, and your desires, you create a psychological pull that intensifies his attention and his emotional involvement. Mystery combined with authenticity is irresistible because it communicates depth and value simultaneously. Another element to understand is the subtle art of emotional triggers. These are moments that awaken feelings, memories, and desires he may not even consciously recognize. A shared joke that taps into nostalgia, a thoughtful observation that validates him, a glance that conveys connection without words. These small moments accumulate to create emotional resonance. He may feel tension, longing, or confusion, but that's precisely what creates the internal shift. He starts questioning, reflecting, and noticing the difference between the connection he has and the connection he experiences with you. This is the invisible architecture of attraction that compels him to consider choice, even if he initially resists. It's also important to address the inner narrative you carry. The story you tell yourself about the situation will directly influence your energy. If you operate from scarcity, neediness, or anxiety, he will feel it, even if he cannot articulate why. If you operate from abundance, self-respect, and clarity, he will feel that too. The internal state of a woman radiates outward, often more powerfully than her words or actions. You must train your mind to see yourself as someone worth choosing, someone whose presence is life-enhancing, someone whose love is a prize because it is rooted in completeness, not dependency. This mental alignment becomes an invisible force that naturally influences his perception and his desire. Patience and timing remain critical. There is a rhythm to attraction, especially when circumstances are complex. You cannot rush feelings, force decisions, or demand choice. The best approach to maintain steady presence, confidence, and value while allowing time for his emotions to catch up. Life is full of signals and patterns, and when you exist in a consistent state of magnetic authenticity, the right moment will emerge. That moment is not manufactured. It is the natural convergence of his awareness, emotional response, and recognition of what he truly desires. The power of joy cannot be overstated. Men are drawn to women who live joyfully, who laugh freely, and who carry lightness even in difficult moments. Joy is contagious, and when a man experiences your genuine happiness, he is reminded of what life could feel like with you fully integrated into it. Contrast the dullness, routine, or tension he may feel elsewhere with your vibrancy, and the pull becomes almost irresistible. Joy is magnetic because it is both nurturing and invigorating. It awakens desire while simultaneously fostering emotional comfort and connection. Another principle to master is emotional calibration. You want to respond, not react. This means observing his energy, his words, his actions, and matching them thoughtfully, not mimicking, not bending, but creating harmony. Emotional calibration communicates attunement, empathy, and understanding. Men feel profoundly drawn to women who get them, not superficially, but at a level that resonates with their inner world. When he senses this connection, even subtly, it challenges the security of existing attachments and draws him toward you, emotionally and mentally, compelling him to evaluate what he truly wants. Communication, subtle as it may be, also shapes the trajectory of choice. The way you speak, the tone you use, the confidence behind your words, all of this communicates value. Men notice confidence and assertiveness because they signal self-possession and clarity. When you express yourself clearly, authentically, and with conviction, you become someone whose presence is not just enjoyable, but commanding. The man who is bound elsewhere will feel a magnetic tension between what he currently has and the unmistakable strength and authenticity of your presence. You also have to understand the power of letting go without abandoning. This is one of the most misunderstood principles. You do not chase, you do not plead, you do not compromise your boundaries. Yet you remain emotionally engaged enough to be present, kind, and connected in meaningful ways. Letting go is about freedom and respect. It communicates that you are not dependent on his choice for your happiness, which paradoxically increases his desire to choose you. When a man feels the absence of neediness, he experiences the magnetic tension that awakens longing. The principle of comparison also works subtly. Humans constantly compare experiences, even unconsciously. When he interacts with you, he begins to measure what he feels with what he has elsewhere. The contrast you create through authenticity, presence, joy, and emotional resonance sets a benchmark that he cannot ignore. This is why being fully yourself, fully alive, and fully magnetic is far more effective than trying to compete with someone else. You are not competing. You are embodying a standard of connection, energy, and self-worth that is inherently attractive. Let's revisit the notion of energy again because it underpins everything. Energy is invisible, but it is palpable. How you carry yourself, how you engage, how you interact, all of this communicates more than words ever could. When a man senses a woman whose energy is aligned with self-confidence, joy, and presence, he cannot help but notice. Energy creates emotional resonance, and resonance creates desire. It is the invisible thread that draws him toward you, even against the inertia of other attachments. Subtlety remains the key throughout. You do not need to declare intentions, force outcomes, or orchestrate scenarios. Subtle cues, a smile, a laugh, a meaningful glance, can accomplish more than overt actions. Men respond to subtlety because it allows their curiosity and desire to grow naturally. When you create a space where he can reflect, feel, and connect emotionally without pressure, you empower the natural choice to emerge. The art of anticipation continues to play a powerful role. Do not oversaturate interactions. Give him space to reflect on your presence, to miss you, and to realize the value of what you bring. Desire thrives in absence as much as in presence. The interplay between meaningful presence and thoughtful absence strengthens the emotional pull, compelling him to make a choice that aligns with his true feelings rather than his current convenience. Physical cues, as subtle as they may be, reinforce emotional attraction. The way you carry yourself, your posture, your gestures, and even your tone of voice communicate confidence and presence. When combined with emotional intelligence, self-respect, and authenticity, these cues make you compelling without effort. He experiences a sense of comfort, excitement, and intrigue simultaneously, which intensifies his awareness and draws him closer to the point of active choice. Finally, it all comes back to alignment. Your internal state, your energy, your presence, your self-respect, and your authenticity converge to create a magnetic force that naturally evokes desire. Men do not consciously calculate all of these variables, they feel them. And when he feels that the connection, the energy, and the authenticity you provide surpass everything he currently experiences, choice becomes inevitable. Not because you manipulate, but because you exist fully, radiantly, and unapologetically as yourself. The journey is about embodying your full value, living your life fully, and creating a space in which a man feels compelled to reflect on what he truly wants. Presence, mystery, authenticity, emotional intelligence, patience, joy, subtle influence, and consistent alignment with your own worth form the foundation of this magnetic pull. When all of these elements come together, he cannot help but notice, he cannot help but feel, and he cannot help but consider what it means to choose you. The energy you carry becomes the invisible yet undeniable force that challenges circumstance, awakens desire, and leads him toward the natural conclusion that the person he truly wants is not only in front of him, but is someone he cannot walk away from.